Trigger warning. I'm about to talk about medical racism and how Black women have been maltreated throughout history by the medical field. I'm going to start out by talking about Marion Sims. Then I'm going to talk about Henrietta Lacks. And then I'm going to bring it into the present by talking about Adriana Smith. Some of the things that I'm about to talk about will be hard to hear, but some of the things that have been done to Black women's bodies in the name of science is definitely hard to fathom. So we're going to talk about Marion Sims, the supposed father of modern day gynecology, and how he used enslaved women to do his experiments on so that we have modern gynecology, because obviously you're not going to do these same things on white women's bodies. You have to do these things on people that you think are less than human. So that is where we get to Marion Sims and the historical racism that built modern gynecology. This man has a statue and everything. He is revered. This article was put out May 7th. Marion Sims, career and honors built on torture in Alabama. In Dr. Marion's lifetime, the South Carolina native who practiced in central Alabama and Montgomery before moving his career to New York and Europe was touted as a medical genius, especially when it came to treating women. Montgomery took pride in the early surgical work of the father of gynecology had done here without knowing or questioning the torture of enslaved women that led him to create unique tools and techniques. He invented a vaginal speculum, a device that's still used today to examine the vagina and cervix. He came up with the Sims position, a semi-prone position that's halfway between lying on your side and lying on your stomach. He learned how to repair tears between the bladder and vagina. His success here led him to create a women's hospital in New York and Shine Brightly in Paris. This screenshot is very triggering. I'm just going to tell you that up front. While Sims' accomplishments were many, there's no denying the foundation of his career was built upon painful and unethical experiments in gynecology performed in Montgomery on enslaved women who could not tell him no. Those women felt everything he did to them, including being cut without anesthesia, because he believed Black women didn't feel pain the same way that white women did. And that's the reason why we still have medical racism to this day, because they do not believe that Black women feel pain the same way, because we are not considered as human, as feminine as white women. And this is all built on medical racism that goes back forever, because we have not been seen as human or as women since forever, because this country is built on the backs and bones of women, Black people and women, but especially if you were Black and a woman in the medical field, you were used for experiments. And yes, this is emotional to know and to speak on and to read and hear, but we're going to talk about it. There are at least 11 enslaved women Sims experimented on, according to Equal Justice Initiative, but the three whose names are known from his notes are Lucy, Anarcha, and Betsy. I think that the woman here in this infamous painting is the one that they named Lucy. And I'm just pointing this out, that this has been going on. Medical racism has been going on since forever. So that's Marion Sims and his life and a piece of his history and some of what Black women had endured. But they endured this so that they can take the modern miracles of medicine to white women. And now they could perform these things better because Black women were experimented on. And now let's talk about Henrietta Lacks and HeLa cells. This article literally just came out today. They are debating whether or not Henrietta Lacks should get a gold medal. And what's important about her are the HeLa cells. You may not have heard of her. You may not have heard of HeLa cells, but her body has been used ever since her death to perform modern day miracles that her family never consented to and didn't make any money from. But these companies that used her cells, they definitely made billions of dollars from her body. Another Black woman. So like I said here, they are talking about the Congressional Gold Medal, but that's not my point of this video today. Let's talk about who she was. Henrietta Lacks was born in the 1920s in Virginia. She later moved to Maryland, and in her 30s, she discovered that she had cervical cancer. She visited a doctor for treatment at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. At the time, it was one of the only hospitals that would help African Americans. During her treatment, a doctor took a sample of Lacks' cervical tissue without her consent. Lacks' cancer progressed and she died months later, leaving behind a husband and 5 kids. Despite her death, Lacks' cells were reproduced indefinitely in a lab and used in various biomedical research projects. Her cells, which became known as HeLa cells, were found to be incredibly durable and grew at a fast rate. In this part, I want to remind us all, her cells were taken without her consent. And this is one of the reasons why informed consent is something that they talk about a lot in medicine right now. Her cells, the HeLa cells, has led to discoveries for treatments for illnesses such as polio, HIV/AIDS, leukemia, and Parkinson's disease. In 2013, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, which the Trump administration is working to defund, gave the Lacks family control of how the findings from the HeLa cells could be used. In 2024, Johns Hopkins University also acknowledged Lacks' contributions with a Henrietta Lacks building in East Baltimore. But something that you should know is that the family, the generations that came after, never benefited from the HeLa cells and all of the money that these people have made off of her cells. So just going back to the fact that the bodies and blood and everything that this country has been built on, Black people hardly ever benefited from. And now I want to come to Adriana Smith, and here she is holding her child. This photo right here that they have been using is not what she looked like at 9 weeks pregnant. This was when she was pregnant with her child that is still alive. They are using this on purpose because it is to push the pro-life forced birther agenda. They're experimenting with this woman in this pregnancy. She is brain dead and she is an incubator, and they know that they can get away with doing this because of the medical racism in this country. They know that they can get away with this a lot easier with a Black woman being an incubator than anybody. The fetus of a brain-dead Georgia woman who is being kept alive to carry out her pregnancy is continuing to grow, the woman's mother said late Monday, days after the controversial case exploded into the national news and sparked questions about the ethics of using the state's anti-abortion law to keep a woman with no chance of recovery on life support. So we already know part of the story. She went into the hospital with an intense headache, and they basically sent her home with some aspirin and said, go. They didn't give her a CT scan. They didn't treat her. They didn't do anything, which we all know was also probably rooted in racism, despite the fact that this woman was actually a nurse. They still sent her back. They still sent her away. And it says the next day, Smith was rushed back to the hospital after she woke up gasping for air. The hospital diagnosed her with blood clots in her brain. Within hours of her first visit, she was declared brain dead. So had they done any kind of work on her or examined her, they might have found it, but they didn't because, like I said, medical racism. All right, it says under Georgia law, abortion is banned after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. That ban also contains provisions that strengthen the concept of fetal personhood, a doctrine that holds that embryos and fetuses should be considered people and as such are entitled to full legal rights and protections. Newkirk, her mother, April Newkirk, said doctors told the family the law requires keeping her alive to preserve the pregnancy. We didn't have a choice or a say about it. We want the baby. That's part of my daughter, but the decision should have been left to us, not the state. And the part that I wanted to get to is right here. The chances of there being a healthy newborn at the end of this is very, very small. He may be blind. He may not be able to walk. He may not survive once he is born because this woman is dead. She is being kept alive artificially. Being brain dead means that this child is not going to be a child on the end of it. And like I said, they are just experimenting to see what happens with a brain dead woman and seeing if she can be an incubator. This is all part of what goes on in the United States, and we are watching it play out right now. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. So I'm attaching a couple of more videos to my video. This one where this man is talking about the experimentation that they're doing, and another short clip from a woman that is showing what a brain dead brain looks like and what a healthy brain looks like and a brain in a coma. I am just showing you this because people are talking about this. This woman is not medically alive, and she is not doing what her body would need to do to be able to put forth a healthy pregnancy. All right, go ahead and watch these two videos as well.
I need you to watch this video. I believe that Adriana Smith, the black woman that is brain dead and being forced to have a child in Georgia, is setting the groundwork for a concept known as whole body gestational donation. Concept where people that are brain dead but otherwise good physical health are used as incubators to make children. It sounds far-fetched, but it's not. It's something that's been talked about for over 40 years now. It was originally talked about by a bioethicist in the 1980s, and then in 2000 it was brought up again by an Israeli doctor. And recently another doctor brought it up again. And all of this is documented in the National Library of Medicine. The basic premise that's used is that dead people cannot suffer, and therefore they lack rights and autonomy to their own physical bodies. They've also said that women who have previously given their consent could be gestational carriers. And this is a direct quote, making use of an otherwise wasted resource. But it gets worse, because their entire reasoning behind it is 100% in the self-interest of other people. It's mentioned that this could offset the expense of surrogacy, that people that want to be parents but can't, whether due to physical or financial reasons, could have their wishes fulfilled. Even though this is something that's been discussed for 40 years now, it does seem like there are more doctors that are against this than there are for it. Doctors have written rebuttals about the pain and exploitation that can come from assessing someone's autonomy during brain death.
This is what advanced life support looks like in medical imaging. This is a dead human. Advanced life support, it is only because of advanced life support and the standardization of resuscitation that we are in the mess that we are in right now. This is a dead human. Dead. Life support at the point of brain death exists so that doctors can harvest organs and body parts. Brain dead is dead.